Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. We're going to delve into naming, which is a big part of warfare. A big part of warfare exists within names, right? We're looking at it right now with that young man who's been accused with uh, murder, and when it was, in my pro se opinion, clear cut self defense. To say that somebody's a murderer, that's a name. And how do you get to treat a murderer, right? As opposed to, I want y'all to really watch the name game with respect to race when you're looking at the news. Watch what they call us in the same situations that they call others. Well, the name we're going to deal with today is an Indian. Well, Christopher Columbus came to Hispaniola and ordained the Arawaks forever as Indians. Were they Indians? Wani, what is an Indian?
I guess we have to ask white people because they named their bunch of languages Indo European, Indo Aryan, Indo Iranian. They named everything Indian. Like, I don't know. They just like that word.
We're
They
all
named,
Indians.
yeah, they named people in Hindustan, India, and they kept the name. Then they said, oh, these over here are West Indians. I guess they were lost. Then they said these others up here are Indian Indians. And then we see some black Indians. So
I'm
they were,
confused.
yeah, they were basically trying to call anybody brown with straight hair Indians, no matter where they went. And so that's why they were calling everybody Indians because they didn't know anything else. That's one of the issues. Um, yeah, they like to play a lot of games with the name. And I'm not sure what's going on with the word Indian, but I am sure that they don't know where they come from because they name themselves Caucasian. Well, they had some of it right because there's Asian in there, right? They're a hell of a lot more Asian than they want you to know. They were up there hanging out with Mongols, fighting them, fighting these different types of Asian people. But we're to believe that they're not Asian. All they did was steal each other's women and beat each other in the head and mix together. So their identity is very shaky. Now they have ethnocided themselves by calling themselves white. This is following multiple ethnocides that they've done on themselves. Just think about it. These other groups in Europe, they had pretty defined cultures. They had like seasonal cultures where they celebrated winter solstice, spring equinox. But whatever they were doing, they came over here to America and just threw it all up in the ground. Just, no more Oktoberfest. We'll just celebrate Halloween. They just give up. They get rid of their names. They don't speak their languages. We were speaking about mother tongues. What why do they just give up their mother tongue? They just stop speaking Polish. Now they're speaking English, but we're supposed to feel ashamed. We have Europeans coming over here throwing their languages out the window. They're not speaking German and Polish. They're gladly speaking English, but we're supposed to feel ashamed. We've been speaking English longer than any of these Ellis Island people. They
Facts.
couldn't even write. They were putting an X where their names are spelled wrong and they didn't correct it. Some of these people are walking around, especially Polish people, because no one can spell their names. They're walking around with their name misspelled, the name that they came over here with, because they couldn't read. They couldn't spell their name and they put X's there. So these other people wanting to poke fun at someone that they enslaved for centuries, who should be at a disadvantage. When we open our eyes, we see that the people trying to make fun of us are more lost than we are because at least we are trying to fight. As an anthropologist, it's my duty to fight to save cultures. I don't want to see anybody's culture go down in flames. Everybody has some little thing that's nice, some little individual thing that they're doing. and I want them to keep it. But they
Right.
don't want to. They just want to throw it in the trash and come run over here and do what we're doing, or then try to get us to do what they want to do, which we don't want to do.
Well, I wanted to point out something you just mentioned when you brought up Polish, but I'm not targeting Polish people, but I am identifying that European immigrants were not as academically astute as black, formerly enslaved people. Let me back it up right quick. According to Dr. Claude Anderson in Dirty Little Secrets, page 190, Dr. Anderson says, quote, by overcoming centuries of planned ignorance in inferior schools, black educational achievement far exceeded that of what the newly arriving European immigrants who received first class citizenship with better schools. The 10 million European immigrants who arrived in this country in a decade following the Civil War had an illiteracy rate of about 95%. None of them, damn near 100% of Europeans could not read, ladies and gentlemen. Know that.
Signing the old X, signing that X and talking trash. I already know because when my grandmother was born in 1896, by the time she got to be a school administrator, she had to force white immigrants to go to school. They were like, nope, we want our child to, put shoes on horses. We don't, they go to school for what? What's
Hmm.
that for? They weren't educated, and we already know that they involved themselves in crime. So they weren't educated, and they didn't want their children to be educated.
Black Americans, that is what Wani just said, and what Dr. Howard Zinn backs me up with, and what Dr. Claude Anderson is backing me up with right now. The fact of the matter is, you have a history of academic excellence. I am not an anomaly. I am the norm. I'm actually probably below normal in the foundational Black American history and tradition. Europeans were ignorant. They couldn't read. Like Wani said, their children were looked at as money. You go to school? Hell no. You getting your ass in that factory. So it was really important for the system to rebrand our children as illiterate, as dumb, as thugs, because I think, like Love I Am said the other day, they, on a metaphysical level, wants to trade places with us. Matter of fact, the late great C. Friedman L. said, when you look at um, European men walking around with those red caps, those red tall hats, and a little tassel, according to the late great C. Freeman L., he said they're telling you that they're you. That's what we're looking at. This is a metaphysical thing. I think Not Alive got something to say. I'm curious to hear what he got to say. What's on your mind, Not Alive?
Okay, I just want to throw this out there. That people that are in
Hold on,
small
hold on.
genetic
Stop right there. Not Alive. Where's your family from?
all over the place. I'm a Heinz 57. I don't have
I,
any. I
I
don't
don't know what that
believe in
means.
race. A
Oh
Heinz
no, no, no,
57 just
sir,
means
sir. I
I'm a
didn't.
blend of
With all
everything
due respect, sir, I didn't ask you what you believed in. I asked you where your family's from.
all
Different
over the
question.
place. All over the
He's
Well,
place.
white. He's white.
what there are different types of white. So where are you Irish? Give me some idea. That's a
He's
No,
trying
wonderful.
to
no, no.
tell
I'm a
us.
Heinz 57. I'm everything European, Middle Eastern. I'm Ashkenazi. I'm
No, Lord.
everything that
He's
under the
trying to
sun.
tell
I'm
us he's a
Asian. I'm
mutt.
Native American.
He's a mutt.
I am
Well,
literally a blend.
Everybody's a mutt, but
We
he's
are all
different.
mutts, and I just wanted
Everybody's
to
a mutt.
point really quick.
Can't hear you.
I think he's just saying that to avoid telling us where he's from. Can y'all hear me now?
Okay,
that's what
that's
I know.
No,
fine. I
that's
know one thing. He's white, so go ahead with your white statement.
I
Proceed.
was going to say it has nothing to do. First off, there's
You're
ethnicities
trying to
and
be
there's thousands.
racist and you're messing it up.
Hold on, Nada. You just kind of like machine gunning all over the place, and we have order and decorum on this channel. We have logic, order, and decorum. Nobody knew what Heinz 57 is. I think it's some nasty ass goddamn ketchup. That's what I think it is. If you have an esoteric like
Is it
definition,
Worcestershire sauce?
no, Worcestershire is good, but Heinz 57, I don't like ketchup. I get in trouble with my lady all the time because I just don't like ketchup.
Okay, it's
Um,
okay. I could see
What
Dr.
person doesn't
Pepper
like?
23 flavors. Like
This
that's
is not helpful.
the reason why I wanted to speak was the fact.
hold on, sir. We gotta slow down. You're going too fast. Nobody's gonna hang up on you. That ain't gonna happen. I just need to get in a.
I can't promise that.
I'm not gonna hang up on you. Uh, I just want to get a clear understanding so the the audience isn't lost. Because if I'm lost, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are lost. You said that you're from everywhere, but the something an equatable logic to that is you ask me, "Hey, Professor, hey, where are you from?" And I say, "Oh, I'm from nowhere in particular. I'm from everywhere." You're from somewhere, so help me out.
I'm
Let's
from
go to your mother's.
America.
Where's all
I'm from America.
these weird
I
requests
don't
coming from?
care.
Who are these all of these weird people from down in the caves that are requesting? Did they all just walk in here at the same time?
Can he just can he
No, they're
just tell
following
us
me
what his
probably.
can you
But
just tell me your
can
question and get past your whiteness issues?
okay. Can we
Okay,
stop
go ahead with
talking
your
about that?
question.
My statement comes from what you were talking about Europeans being stupid. I'm going to agree with that statement because my consensus is that anything that is a small closed off.
Hold on. What you won't do on this space is lie. So you come up here with like fucking venom, lying on
I'm
people.
nobody's lying.
Nobody. I don't recall anybody saying anybody was stupid. I what I said is Dr.
I
Claude Anderson. No, sit and listen, sir. Dr. Claude Anderson said by overcoming centuries of planned ignorance in inferior schools, black educational achievement far exceeded that of newly arriving European immigrants. That's
yeah,
a fact, sir.
listen. I'm not gonna quote your entire statement. I'm gonna summarize.
Okay.
What I'm not gonna let you do, you need to watch your mouth on my stage. Do not put words in anybody's mouth.
I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth. I'm summarizing what
Nobody said what you said, sir. So
I
I'm asking you to politely watch your goddamn mouth. Continue.
Hey, don't speak to me that way. I will find wherever
I
you're
don't want to
you're
do this.
at,
I don't want
dude.
to do
Stop
this no
talking to me
Hold on,
more.
you
that way.
gonna do what?
I
He's
will
gonna
fucking
track
find
us
wherever
down
you're a
and wipe.
professor at, and I will have a conversation in person with you, and we'll have a actual discussion. If you
And
want
Sir,
to,
you
if you
want
I'm
some
want to,
exercising my
resolution.
First Amendment rights, and I will not be threatened on my stage
but
by
you're the
anybody.
one. Okay, first off, you can exercise your First Amendment right, but I can't. And then you're going to sit there and say,
Hey, stop raising your voice on my stage, sir.
when I just summarized what you said. Anyway, Europeans are typically ignorant. Let's just use that because of the small gene pools in which they're breeding in. So since they're marrying their second and third cousins for generations upon generations, yeah. But then when you get cultures or other people that migrate,
Hold on. How does that tie into our topic? We said what exactly is an Indian? Do you care to comment on the topic, sir?
He
an
said he was
Indian would be
Indian. He's
what
Indian
you
too, like
commonly
everybody else on the planet.
it would be what is commonly referred to as a Native American because at the time that Christopher Columbus found the New World and he thought it was the West
It's
Indies, he
not
knew that it
new.
wasn't the West Indies, and the people in India were known as Hindus, they weren't known as Indians.
Hindustanis.
But
I'm Juan. Do you have any more questions for him? I think he's disrespectful and boring, so I'm about to move
it's
on.
not
No, I
disrespectful
don't.
and boring. I'm straight up telling you that what
He's
you're
saying
talking
that.
about, you're
Okay.
Hey,
I
have a nice
think
day, sir.
I think we're just hostile, and it doesn't matter what he's going to say
Yeah,
because
he,
I'm
he's
not in the mood for whatever he's talking about.
yeah, he hostile coming up here threatening people. So
He's
I
agreeing.
teach constitutional. I teach the Constitution. I'm exercising my First Amendment right. Foundational Black Americans, don't let these people come on your stage threatening you. This is not
Why is this
1954.
guy laughing? What is so funny? The head negress. What's so
Doing.
funny?
Let's hear it.
Huh?
Uh,
Was there a
what's
question asked?
Um,
oh Lord,
can you get
what
your mic together so I can hear this stuff you're saying? What are you saying?
You had all of these laughs while you were waiting to
Hello,
come
can you
up.
hear
Go
me?
ahead and speak.
his iPhone
Mhm.
3 is
Yeah,
malfunctioning.
his. Okay, never mind. Never
uh
mind.
Three. I don't even want to say your name. I'm slightly offended by it, but three. We're gonna call you or the. Excuse me. The. What's on your mind? Going once. Going twice. Do y'all hear him?
There
I
you
don't.
go.
What?
Hello?
Yeah. What's on your mind?
Sorry, I'm having connection issues. No,
Oh,
I was just requesting just on the stage. What are y'all talking about?
Is that is that
Are
why
you a man or
Jesus
a
was in
woman?
both?
Are you
I can't
a
hear
man
what.
or a woman?
I'm
What are
a,
your
All of them.
pronouns?
All of them.
I'm a nigga.
Oh
Hmm.
no, 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 no. Wrong.
Is that
What's the problem?
does what
Wait a
kind
minute.
of
Is that
hairstyle is this? Is this do
yeah?
you have like is that Jesus with braids? I'm
I
confused.
removed him. He's putting stuff in the jumbotron, or no disrespect to
It's
anybody.
probably some booty stuff.
I didn't want to see it, so I just removed him and erased what was in the jumbotron. I didn't even want to
Oh,
see it.
good.
One he said booty stuff.
My wife hadn't fixed food yet, so anyway. So I didn't want to see it. Hey, the black, what's up, brother? Talk to
This
me,
is
man.
not going the way that I expected the room to go.
Hey, we rolling with it though. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad that the room is going this way. And at its core, this space is an educational space, and my duty on this space is to educate my people. And I want to show you the hostility of the dominant society coming up here, just hostile. Um, uh, One of the gentlemen came up here just straight lying at people. He's yelling. He's in a posture, in a position as to educate us. I think I know a little bit about this stuff. It's something called respect and decorum. And so observe the attitudes and the vitriol and the venomous statements. Neely Fuller, our dear fallen brother, said interactions with this type of gentleman goes three ways. It's tacky. So you come up there, hey, what's going on, my nig? What's going on, bro? Gotta be tacky. Now, if we say, hold on, don't you talk to me that way, it turns trashy. Trashy is like, well, what the fuck, dude? What are you doing? Oh, you're making fun of what the fuck? I'm gonna call my city councilman. Blah, 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 all that. That's trashy. Now, let's see if Neely Fuller was right. Neely Fuller said if when you educationally reject that rhetoric and say, nah, you don't talk to me that way. I'm a full grown man. Don't you talk to me that way? It goes to terroristic. So let's see if it goes to terroristic. But before then, we're gonna let the black speak. Talk to us, the black.
But Not Alive wants to come back, and I don't see why. What
Not
was he?
alive.
He
Hmm.
was he was hostile agreeing with us. Yeah, I got you, Nada. I know all the moves. You
Yeah,
see,
we do.
It's my business for survival's sake to know every move you're gonna make, and that's one. Yeah, those white
I'm
people they
not.
try hostile
First off,
agreeing.
I'm not
Oh,
part
okay,
of
I heard
any
you.
group
Hostile agreeing.
whatsoever.
And oh
I
yeah,
am.
I'm Native
Hold on, Nada.
American
You
too.
haven't been acknowledged to speak, so be quiet
I'm
until you're
Native
acknowledged to speak.
American. Now, see, the Native American part is to align himself with a minority so that he can hostile agree with us.
Tecumseh is my great 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 grandfather.
I didn't ask you.
Right.
Hey,
I didn't ask
everybody's
you
supposed to raise
nothing.
their hand.
Stand
Yep, and
down until my host. Stand
I'm
down until my co-host
Pocahontas's
gets through speaking, sir. Please.
right, and I'm Pocahontas's brother and all that. So check this out. I don't care. Are you what do you want to say? Because all you said was, yeah, guys, white people are trashed. That's hostile agreeing just to get the foot in the door. And then the
Right.
No,
next
that's
thing you
not what
know,
I
the
was
foot's up
saying.
my ass.
No,
You
you
see?
wouldn't let me finish my
Hold on.
statement about.
Hold on. I'm not done. Hey, audience, remember what I said. We've been through Tacky. He came on Tacky. I said, "Skirt, talk to me like an adult." And then he got trashy, making threats and stuff. And I said, "Skirt, don't care. First Amendment, unprotected." So where did I say it's gonna go? The other T. Let's see. Uh, Not alive now. You can talk.
My statement was about closed off gene pools. And when you have isolated gene pools for long periods of time with intermarrying with close relatives, you lose IQ points very, very quickly. Like it takes
Now,
2 to 3 generations for you to drop about 10 IQ points. So, like, you could have an average IQ amongst a population of 120 and start intermarrying like all the royals did, and then in 3 or 4 generations you're a bunch of freaking
okay, let's
less
break this
than
down.
desirable.
Let's break this down. When are you saying that these white people were marrying their sisters and cousins? Because the royal family doesn't count as the general population.
No,
They're
I
just
am
trying to
saying
hold
their
on to
second
power.
and third. It was common that second.
Hmm.
It
Do
was
you
common.
know which time frame you're speaking about? You speaking about like the Middle Ages onward?
Oh no, this is going on for centuries throughout Europe. I mean, you only had. I mean, most of those were only small tribes for a long time. That's throughout the entire world. You only had like large metropolitan cities throughout the ancient world rise up, and then you would have the intermarrying and breeding of like everybody. You get the Mesopotamian people, right? So it's about finding the best mix of everything and not staying within the same gene pool. Like if I just keep
Are you
breeding
hitting on
German
somebody in the
shepherds,
room?
what?
Are you hitting on people in the room now?
No, no, no.
Yeah,
Like I said, I don't have a dog in the fight because I don't believe in
Okay.
race. I don't believe in
It doesn't matter.
in
It's
ethnicity.
sir,
actually a
sir,
thing.
sir. I don't know what you're talking about. Like the
Well,
topic
we'll
says,
go on to the
yeah, I
other
don't know what
topic.
I don't know what he's talking about. I feel like he wants to come up here and colonize the room and talk about what he wants to talk about. Listen, not alive. I appreciate your contribution, whatever it was. Have a nice day. Next speaker.
And now, what I wanted to say when we were speaking about white people ethnociding themselves. So they did leave an established community in the Caspian steppe area, Pontic Caspian steppe. And was somebody talking? Okay. They did leave that community and they wanted to go to different places in Europe. So they started migrating out of this Caspian steppe area where they were heavily not white. Nobody was white, okay? Now, I don't know what they think they are, but if you look at the name of them, it's a very Siberian name of these people that were running around Central Asia. So, anyway, they made their way down to these other areas. But guess what? They did this around 3 to 2 2000 BCE. 3000 to 2000 BCE, they start flooding out of this area. But they went to places that already had people there. They already had people. And then when you ask, well, hey, these people were not what you call white. And then they go to another place that's not white, that has a bunch of people that came from Africa for sure to parts of Europe. They didn't have obstructions that made them go to Central Asia. So they went right from Africa to southern Europe. So what do you think they looked like? They meet these people. Now, when you ask AI, this is some more AI abuse. If you say, what race were these people that these people from the Caspian steppe encountered? Do you know it said the construct of race didn't exist then? What? And I said, so they didn't have a race 3000 BCE? Because I can swear that the Khoisan are a race and the Twa are a race. How do you not have a race? You see what they're doing? They don't want to say who was over there. There's a reason why Cheddar Man is dark brown. There's a reason why every time they dig something up that's old, it's brown. It's always going to be brown. It can never be white. And they know it. So they want to just erase all of those people, ethnocide history, ethnocide themselves over and over by getting Romanized, Hellenized, Germanized. They just keep doing it. So, how are we going to defend ourselves when the dominant society is ethnociding themselves because they don't feel that they have value to what's going on. They don't value the other Europeans. They don't value the people that they barged in on. I don't think they understand what culture is and how it should be cherished, how you should look at what other people are doing. You're on a spinning ball in space and you want to erase other people's intelligence. They may know something you might need to know.
It's
That's a very dangerous way to live.
it's just dominance. It's playing little games to feign dominance. Like the gentleman that just was in here trying to, you can't have it both ways. You can't play both sides of the equation. You're either positive or negative. You can't pick, you can't play both sides of the equation. It's actually silly when you sit and think about it. But the fear that was created during the first push of colonization it still has reverberations in America and across the world. So people are kind of scared to, well, should I say anything about it? But one thing I love about this United States of America is we have the First Amendment. And in my pro se opinion, I'm gonna say whatever I'll say whatever the hell I want to. So as long my rules is so long as I can back it up with a scholarly source or two. I don't mind saying it. The one I'm curious what's on your mind. The one we haven't got all day, sir or ma'am. The one going
Oh
once.
no, I just find it funny that you get to say whatever you want and you get to silence.
Hold on one second. We got some rules here. So, what's your, what's your,
White.
what's your, what's your lineage, sir?
They don't have a lineage. I'm just gonna call them white right now. They need to define themselves. Do they
My
care?
90th great grandfather is Annius, and my fifth
90th?
great grand.
Hold on, hold on,
Did
hold
you
on.
say 90th?
We have decorum here, sir. I'm sure you were listening earlier. We're gonna get to you. I need to know a couple things. Number one, where's your family from? You can after come from two different places. Where's your mom's family? Then where's? Hold on, I'm not ready for you yet. Not ready. Where's your mom's side of the family from, and where's your dad's side of the family from? All right, go ahead.
Hey, y'all are on one today.
Come on, the one. Where you from?
All over the place.
Oh
Oh no, no,
Lord.
no, 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 no. That's not gonna work, sir. I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt because maybe you
No, but
weren't
I
here.
think I think you're about
I'm
ready
gonna
to
get.
lose your account.
I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm not talking over you.
No, you're gonna lose your account. You keep saying no, you keep saying the First Amendment and stuff, but then you keep silence
Hold
everybody
on,
while you're
one.
talking.
Hold on. I
No,
won't. I won't be
you're all about
threatened.
the
Bye
First Amendment.
bye. Do not come back. You've been blocked. What did I tell you,
He
ladies and gentlemen? I said.
Trashy.
I said trashy, tacky, and terroristic.
he had them down right.
I'm gonna take. Yeah,
Did he
yeah,
have goofy on there? Because there's some goofy in there sometimes.
right.
We got to add that to the book.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Neely Fuller.
Right now, it's this the three that you mentioned. It's very predictable.
I'm so glad that he came up here. He was a teaching like a master class. Like I'm calling him sir. I'm just asking to follow a couple rules. That's all. I never said a cuss word out my mouth. I said "God damn it" earlier, but I say that all the time. That wasn't directed at anybody, right? I think I'm keeping my composure. Thank you, sir, for proving my point. Now let's see what three-headed. I'm not saying that three-headed has to say.
This the one that kept putting the stuff in the
Is
jumbotron,
this the
Professor.
person that put butt porn in there?
Oh,
Yes,
was it
that's
porno?
the yeah,
I don't
yeah. It was
know.
the porno person. That's the porno person.
Oh, don't let him up.
I'm just guessing by the voice what's going to be in the jumbotron. You see,
Mm,
I have become psychic because I have developed an adaptation to bullshit, and I have to defend myself from bullshit. So I have supernatural powers now.
right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. So I wish I had my book. I left it in my library, but the in Neely Fuller's book, he talks about the dominant society can't interact in a normal fashion with with us. I would go so far as to say with a lot of different groups. But
Wouldn't
go ahead.
wouldn't Hitler be upset that these guys are running around talking about their mutt and their Heinz 57? Where's the purity? Where's the pure Germanic pride? I'm insulted.
Well,
I'm
I'm
tired
a
of hearing about all these mutts.
I'm a master tactician, and I peeped his game before. I don't know if y'all peeped it, but what he was trying to do, colleagues, was bait us into saying something against him. He was trying to bait us into saying something derogatory towards his his group, whatever it was. I never figured it out. Didn't really care, but he was trying to bait us into it. He was trying to bait me into it, and that's why I corrected him. Skirt, stop. I never said that, and he lied on me, right? So, we'll talk about grounds for dismissing an account. I might need to talk about him lying on me because nobody said what he said. We have to be careful with it. These people are crafty, ladies and gentlemen. Um, and let me tell you what, I'm not going to tell anybody else what to do. Let me tell you what I'm not going to allow people to do to me. I'm not going to allow people to bait me into saying something I don't believe or I can't back up. Just stand on two and tell the truth. And these people's arguments will melt right in front of you. And then they'll have to get trashy. I'm going to call, like the other day, we were watching Tariq and some lady said, y'all hear that shit on Tariq page when that lady was like, my uncle is a police officer. Like she threatening the police on X.
Holla, whoop, whoop, homie.
It's just crazy, you know. But things are starting to change in America, and certain groups of people are threatened and all nervous and stuff. Yeah. So I wanted to go back to scholarship, and again to my viewers, forgive the disruption. I know we usually don't have disruption and anarchy on our channel, and I will say it's very interesting who brought the
Why?
anarchy.
Why does everybody get so upset when you ask what their lineage is? I thought people were proud of this. Didn't I see white people during the when I was in school? They were like, "Hey, my God, we're doing genealogy." I thought you guys were happy that you were related to, Napoleon Bonaparte or somebody famous you would tell us about.
Well,
Ain't too many of them white people left, Wani.
I'm very proud of my lineage. I'm very proud of it. I survived slavery. I survived systematic oppression. I survived genocide. So I must, according to their theories, I must be, the fittest to be here. Right?
Survival of the fittest. We
Right.
definitely are.
Right.
Are we gonna talk to three-headed butt porn or like move them down or what's going on?
Let's hear what he got to say. But sir, please don't post anything in
E?
Jumbotron.
What is it?
Go ahead, three head.
May I ask you a quick preliminary question?
Go ahead.
Do you like Democrats?
Of course.
I hate your guts.
I don't care. We're going to put y'all back on the Democratic plantation.
Oh Lord, this is not a
There.
political channel, sir.
We're going to crack some whips on your back. We're going to have you back in
All
chains.
right, all right, all right. Get to your point. What's your point?
What point? I'm just
A
here to
little
terrorize y'all.
sass is
Oh
oozing.
my
You're here
God.
to what?
Terrorize y'all.
Okay.
Oh,
Are
okay.
you done or is this
No,
it?
girl, and look, I'm just listening to what y'all saying.
Ooh, sis, we don't want to go back to that plantation. Lord, don't do it.
I know what you're saying.
That
There's
damn
a
place is
lot of
gone. Ain't nobody going back there now, you hear?
Oh Lord.
weird people on the plantation right now.
We need that chattel slavery back. We
Three head. What are your
I,
thoughts on what exactly is an?
need head Negress and an Oriental Murakami. Get it right.
Oh Lord.
Okay.
Look, you know what?
She said, I don't. It said a what? Ethnic what? To
You
the
know
what? What?
what? I don't know.
he
I
just
don't.
identifies as a
Let
goddamn
me ask a
dolphin. That's
question.
all it
Oh, he's
is.
not up here. No, oh, he's not up here anymore. That's okay. I'm not going to ask. He's not up
No.
here
I don't.
anymore.
I don't speak that dialect.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I don't speak dolphin either.
Right.
I'm very thrown off. I don't know what to do with
But
It's
myself.
that
Can
was
all
you
the
right,
just?
Mr. Wanda. He had a mustache and a wig. You ain't supposed to get cut off.
I.
that was the
All right.
intent. The intent was for them to come up here and terrorize us. That's what the intent. I don't seem pretty particularly terrorized. I don't think Wani or Nikki does or anybody
No.
else is. I'm
I seem
grateful.
confused. It's confusion for
I
me.
have my eyes are bucked out. I know that much.
You got Buck and I.
Yes.
You can't believe what you seen.
Not at all.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. This is kind of comical. Sometimes I just want to have fun. I'm not going to lie. And some of the names that Wani keeps giving these people are killing me.
Right, the power bottom got me though. That's what I call Mr. Crispy.
He
Yeah,
get
you
mad
got
as
me blocked.
hell.
But he thought that was me saying that.
Yeah, he
He is a
blocked me
power
for sure.
bottom. Crispy is a power bottom. That's why he hates black women so much.
Right, he ain't got all y'all hoes, so I guess he mad.
Yeah,
That's why he always talk about his manhood or bring it up in the conversation.
Yeah, and showing it on OnlyFans and telling us about it, at least have the decency to hide your OnlyFans account.
I
mhm.
don't
Yeah,
even
it's a
want to know
lot of
what's on that thing.
people who are off online. A lot of people are off. Hey, Fresh.
Fresh, you never speak.
Come on, Fresh. What you got? What's on your mind?
Oh, she got to come up here now. Ain't there's no choice. No choice.
We got you now.
So, the term Indian, one of those, one of the terrorists that just got through speaking on the stage was trying to give credit to Christopher Columbus. Wani and I both wrote scholarship on Christopher. His name was Christophe Colomb, so I don't know what to call him. Even his name is a lie. But Christopher Columbus didn't discover the New World. Number one, if people were already here, how did he discover anything, right? But so if, a bunch of lies. These people come with lies and threats of, you know, just terror, just terror. But black folk ain't scared no more. Come on, Fresh. What's on your mind?
Absolutely nothing.
Fresh.
Hey, Wanwan. Hey, Nikki. Hey, Professor. Professor, I need to speak with you. I had sent, um, I wanted to purchase a book
Uh
and I don't think I did it properly.
oh. Did you not send your address?
I did not. I didn't
Oh,
know where to put it.
okay. Yeah, that's no problem. You can DM it to me and I'll send it out. Because I was wondering. I did have a couple people send me send me like didn't have an address in there. You're supposed to put it in the headline of Cash App, but no problem. Just go ahead and send it to put it in the jumbotron. I'll send it out tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No doubt. So, what exactly is an Indian? What does that mean?
I don't know. Everybody is Indian. So, yeah, I think you guys talked about this discussion before, right? About how white people went around invading and naming people whatever they wanted to call them. And they were obsessed with like this Indian term. And so a lot of people have been named with this. But what did you guys talk about where they get it from or what inspired this them calling everybody this Indian term?
I ne-
Wrote it
Go ahead.
down. I'm gonna get it real fast. Keep
Okay.
on talking.
All right.
Honestly, I thought this is not my area of expertise, but I do remember someone. Maybe it's Wani. Wani, correct me if I'm wrong, but uh, I heard that people in India are didn't choose the name Indian. Is that right?
Correct.
Correct. I heard that too.
So what? So what are they like? I'm confused.
Well, they were calling themselves their area Hindustan, like Pakistan, Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, you know, got a lot of stands over there. And they got colonized and they were called Indians. And they didn't bother to say, hey, that's not our name. That's very puzzling as well, just to be called something. And you have a long history of living there, being called a stand, and you let someone come in, colonize you, starve you. If you look up the Bengal famine, starve you to bones. They love to make people look like that, just like the concentration camps. They enjoy making people look like skeletons with meat on the bone. And then they do all this stuff to them. And they still keep the name. They love it. They love being colonized. And I'm still working on the psychology of it.
Yeah, I don't understand it. It's a love for colonization. Like we're one of the only groups that's fought back and been like, hell no, we are what we are. which makes us rare. What are your thoughts on this, Black?
I think it's a trick term, like a blanket term, like they use African or Negro is at a certain point in time. I feel like it's whoever the people they encounter within the land and try to usurp their identity, because we see that they took these people and moved them to another part of the land and removed the people that they moved them to another part of the land. So they was basically playing musical chairs with human beings in a kind of way. I feel like to trick the history books so they could rewrite things the way they are now. Being that they was trying to make a new construct for the new world, and they was running away from the original construct that they came from. Since, like you always like to bring up the social class, how they break it down, is still somewhat leftover remnants of the kings, squires, nobles, and all those type of categories. So uh, it's just another social mindfuck that they put on the population to keep them in control instead of letting people actually be who they are in some cases. Because when you let the population actually make decisions for themselves, it won't actually go with what the heads of state actually want. Because most people want peace. You can't make money if everybody is at peace. War is the most lucrative thing ever, because you don't have to worry about uh, maintaining certain communities, because you could just easily destroy them and let your army ravage them, which we see some people like doing it. That's in their DNA, unfortunately. But I just want to say, uh, these last three examples of I wouldn't even call them white people. These peons from the Euros that has been scattered amongst us. This has been a masterclass for sure, and it shows that when we question their history and actually make them face who they are and who they come from, they get nervous and they lash out with a lot of hatred. And in America, we have a history of them doing this. This is the main reason why they made the Native American Party, that later became the Democratic Party. And we see they still have a history of defending outsiders instead of defending the land that we own.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and we're here having a decent intellectual discussion. Minimum cuss words. No pejoratives, and it's all this hostility just for having decorum and having order. That supposition is almost as if, don't you dare tell me to follow rules in your room. Well, get the off my space. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Fresh.
No, I needed to say something about the word Indian. So it was used to refer to the inhabitants of India by Greek people, Greek scholars, uh, 484 BCE, and they called them Indoi, Indoi, or Iv, Ivoi, for some reason, Ivoi. Okay, and then after that, whenever they went somewhere, see what the Greek people do. The English speakers seem to somehow copy it in some way, or they bastardize the word. But they're getting the words from the Greco Roman languages. So that's where it is. That's they just have it in their head, in their Greek brain, that these people are IND something, and then everybody follows suit, including the people that they misnamed.
Yeah.
Which is super weird. So what can you say, or would you guys say that they use it as a, I don't want to say colloquial, but like because it's is it just another name for indigenous people? Because it seems like during it's always associated with them colonizing groups of people, and then I mean we see it over there in India, and like you guys just stated that they're that's not what they were originally called or named. They were Hindus or Hindu people. So and then then they came about with Indian. And so even when you look at indigenous people here in America, they were also named Indians as well. So is it just something they used
I
to refer
I
to the indigenous people
I
as?
think that they visited India and just made that the way they described them. And then when they saw others that looked like them, they applied that name to them. So that's what I think they're doing. I think that they just have it in their mind that they want to call them Indian. They don't care if their name is Hindustan. And it might be some way that Hindustan to them translates to India. It does have IND in it
But what how would that explain them calling everybody else
because
Indians?
they feel like they look like them. They're brown with straight hair.
Yeah, I can see that, but
They're goofy. They're very
that's
goofy
such a
individuals.
simpleton. Yeah, like
Sister Wani, I was looking at the colonized version of Indian, and it was saying that the indigenous people found in the area, including North, South, and Central America. So like whoever they rolled up on was called
Mm-hmm.
Indians. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so it don't even matter. What's up, brother? It don't even matter, what they look like, but whenever the colonizers rolled up on them, they were just Indians.
Yep, it just is lazy. That's why they were trying to call everybody BIPOC. It's BIPOC and then white people. So we don't have to deal with any of you different types of people. It's just good old white folks and the rest of you
And that's what,
masses.
right, and that's why I feel they trying to lump us in with the tethers as one big nigga, and that's not gonna happen.
Would
Nope.
We ain't the same engines, you damn
wouldn't
crackers.
these people be considered like Turks during the Crusades period?
Which one?
Yep.
Like the people from Hindustan, like wouldn't they be considered like
No.
Turks or
Tur-
Persians
Turks are
somewhat?
different.
They all
No.
look alike.
Persians are different too.
Well,
Yeah,
since
cause I ain't gonna lie, that's what I thought at first, especially uh with all them got these stands in the end of their name,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and all they used to be like under the Ottoman under Ottoman rule.
Some they were under Russian rule for a long time. So they've been very volatile. They've been run through.
But isn't it kind of wild like uh the Western Europe so don't like Russians because they have a good relationship with Turks somewhat a little bit.
I think that they don't like Russia because Russia won't bend the knee and tuck itself under and be English or English wannabe like everybody else. Everybody else just pretty
Right.
much bends the knee. And the only people that kind of say, wait a minute, I'm not that kind of white. You might hear a Mediterranean person push back a little bit, a Greek person, Italian person might try to define themselves as something other than white, but a Russian person is not going for it. They come right in with the criticism. Oh, America is this and that. And yeah, they don't. They're not going to ever put themselves under the 13 colonies and erase whatever they're doing, whether we like it or not. They like it, and they're strong enough to say, no, we're going to compete with you. We're not going to let you overrun us. We're not going to let you erase our ethnicity. Now, I don't know what they do here. I used to work with some Russians. I don't know whether they maintain their culture when they're here. They're kind of quiet. They do some crime, organized crime, but I'm not very familiar with what they do culturally when they're away from Russia.
You know you're right about that, and I'll break it down like the little Cossack. people that used to be in Alaska with the Siberians, and they was so the Russians somewhat was like the first ones to kind of end the slavery that we the kind of slavery that we know, and they just made everybody like somewhat blanket citizens, but they had their own different little roles. And when they was in Alaska, that's one problem that the the Americans or the American government always had issues with them. Someone like what they had an issue with the French, they didn't fully force the indigenous people and the people that was coming in settling to force them under one flag and assimilate. And when you look at different European versions of colonization, they do kind of like switch up how they handle the indigenous people, and it seemed like we were the most like forceful on, yeah, you gotta assimilate and accept American culture to a certain point, and then we just gave up and just like said, hey, y'all just come in, just be what you be, just it, even if you gotta hide, we just need the numbers.
Well, Shanice put something interesting in the jumbotron. I was reading through this, why I kind of got quiet for a minute, and it says, "What does the term Indian mean?" And it says, "It is a global collective term Europeans use to represent the individual indigenous person within a race collective of indigenous people on Earth." So y'all are right. According to this book, which looks like the title is "A Forgotten Truth Behind Racism in America," the word Indian was used as a just like a general term to lump everybody in a box that weren't preferred members of the dominant society, which just goes to prove like this whole thing is a goddamn mess, ladies and gentlemen. It's just a we're like swimming around in a byproduct of a gigantic theft. Dr. Yeah, Dr. Wade Nobles call it the Ma'afa. Like, Ma'afa means scar. Like it's just like Europeans got loose out of Europe and went to the I hate saying New World. That's so offensive to me, but went to the New World for the sake of academia and just start cutting off heads and pillaging. And then after a little while, the dust settled and we were still here. So now let's tell some lies to keep them pacified. And we're at a position in time now where it's like we all know the internet fucked their game up so bad. Like, we all know what it is. And you can't come in here and tell us what it isn't. There's a good book written by Delete. Now he's a hell, I don't know the politically correct term. What's the politically correct term for somebody from India? I don't know if I can say Indian, Wani.
You mean the country India?
Yeah,
Hindustan,
Indian.
India.
not Hindustan, Sister Wanting.
Well, no,
Hindustanian,
they're
Hindustans.
calling they're calling themselves Indian, so I
That
mean,
was
Right.
my
They gon'
question. That was
we
my
gonna
that
stick
was
with the.
gonna sorry,
Go
keep
ahead,
going.
sis. My bad. Go ahead. No, you good. Go ahead, sis.
Thank you. Just quickly, why did these terms stick?
Right.
That's the other one.
They
I
the white
because
boy
they got
just
their ass whooped into it.
the white
they
boy
accepted
bragged.
it. I just don't understand. And then it
Why?
just stuck. I don't. Why did it stick? I
They
guess.
never pushed back. I mean, the only
Why
people I've
would
seen
they?
push back, Native Americans have pushed back. They said they didn't want to be called
That's
Indians.
true, but wasn't that like later on, though, Wani?
Yeah. They said they didn't want mountains named after Mount McKinley. They said they didn't want their faces and their culture on sports things. So they do push back, but they're the
I
only
got
ones
old
that do.
news clips of like Indians fight pushing back on being called Indians, Negroes, and everything else. Like they didn't want to be called nothing and you do only see that in America where you have different people pushing back on what they been named by the dominant so-called dominant society.
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like it's bits and pieces that we don't know because it just doesn't make sense that people roll with this culture. um, coming from Europe that is just toxic and poisonous on so many different fundamental levels. I don't know if y'all have had a chance to. There's a series on Netflix. Me and the little lady been watching called Black Mirror. Have anybody seen that shit in here?
I
Yes.
heard about it.
Holy shit!
I was gonna. Is it good? I heard about it.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. Well, Black Mirror, for the most part, and they deviate a little bit, but for the most part, they're different stories that show um how poisonous how far our poisonous European based culture of technology can go. At one point, you got one episode you had a social credit score and you're walking around being nice to people. If not, they get on their cell phone and take points away from you. And this shit has been terrible.
It's funny.
You saw that one?
That sound like China. That
Yes.
sound
That
like
shit
China.
was funny as hell. It was funny, but it wasn't funny at all.
I think
That's
I
what they're
like
doing
the
in China. That's
I
what they're
think
doing
they
right now in China.
Right.
I think I like the first season the best.
So what the reason why I brought that up is all these concepts in Black Mirror on a psychological level, on a fundamental psychological level, are European psychology. Why? Because when you look back upon European psychology, you'll see that they had a different ethnogenesis than we did. Their ethnogenesis was during the Young Dryas. Some people say 11,700 years ago. You can tell that because when you dig down in the rocks, it's a certain area where something happened cataclysmic because there's a thick layer of soot, like some explosion. We don't know what, but something happened. Well, if you go back to that period shortly after the Younger Dryas, I say Young Dryas, I meant Younger Dryas. Well, you had a period of ice age, massive ice age. The world was frozen, crops were not growing, food was sparse, diets changed. Europeans, foundational Black Americans like myself, are we're allergic to milk. It's almost like Mother Nature is telling us, "You're not supposed to drink milk, you idiot." Our dear fallen brother Dick Gregory said, your favorite meat doesn't eat meat. you know and he said, but us drinking, human beings drinking cow milk is like suicide, according to Dick Gregory, because cow milk carries casein in it. If anybody in here has lifted weights, you know what casein is. And casein helps make bones. And which bones do we have? Cow bones? Hell no. So according to Dick Gregory, that's where a lot of the kidney failures come from. That's what he said. I'm not a medical doctor or medical professional. I'm just saying what Dick Gregory said before he died, based upon his research. Well, if you look at all these trends of eating, this is European in origin, and we don't have the same ethnogenesis origin story than Europeans. Now, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said that Europeans got trapped in areas now known as Europe and the Caucasoid Mountains during the Younger Dryas, and had to uh, severely adapt to what was around to eat. You know, our bodies never adapt to that. Now, why am I getting to this? I'm getting to this because aggression, according to Dr. Michael Bradley, PhD, aggression was a very useful tool for Europeans during the Younger Dryas period. Um, the stronger and more vicious you were, the higher probability you had to survive. So it became a virtue, if you will, to be just violent and aggressive. Look at the gentleman that was just on our space earlier, those of you who witnessed that. I don't think any of us said a pejorative to. I don't recall. I know I didn't say anything pejorative to the gentleman. I just told him, "Hold on, wait. Let me wait till Wani gets you talking." And it just was a outburst of viciousness. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna. His voice changed. I'm gonna find out this, and I'm gonna do. I'm gonna. I thought that was very interesting. That reminds me of what Michael Bradley said in his book Iceman Inheritance about the need, the virtue of violence in that time period. Now, how's this tie into Black Mirror, ladies and gentlemen? It ties into Black Mirror because in Black Mirror, you're looking at societies in the future, near future, unfortunately, that are based upon European ideology. Um, Europeans had to develop systems to protect themselves from themselves. The idea of a nation state, of having a border, show me your papers, show me you've not been in trouble. That's European because during that younger dryas, people would just run around killing people, just cutting off heads and killing children and stuff. So all I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, is that those type of ideologies don't necessarily apply to our history, because while they were living in a vicious, harsh climate, um, most of us were in a climate that was very forgiving and abundant of food. I went to West Africa. Last time I went was a couple years ago, and we kind of got lost in a rainforest. I was freaking out for a minute, um, near Togo. And I remember just being calm all of a sudden, because I was like, man, we gonna get stuck over here. Oh, because we were there, and then night fell came, and then a big ass storm came, and we had to go seek shelter into the storm path. I was like, man, we don't have daylight. We're gonna get stuck in this motherfucker, and I'm either gonna get eaten or I'm gonna starve to death. Well, I knew I wasn't gonna starve to death, because on my way back, I was walking past pineapples growing out the ground. Like, food just fucking falls out the sky in the tropics. You know what I'm saying? That's if that affects your attitude. If food is falling out the sky, food is abundant. You can drink the water in the waterfall, and it was delicious, by the way. There's no need to cut anybody's head off because you're full. But you put somebody in that ice, no food, no women, you know, you know, your neighbor starts looking kind of delicious. I suppose. I wouldn't know because that's not my ethnogenesis, but I digress.
Yeah, I believe they were eating people. That's why they look the way they look.
It's evidence of that. Anthropologists went to the Caucasoid Mountains, and maybe Wani could correct me with this, and put some polish on it. But I was reading that apparently, when archaeologists and anthropologists go to a ancient area to study, unfortunately there's always bones of infants, because their immune system's not as developed. They're more fragile. Children are more prone to accidents, and accidents are more prone to be severe when they're infants, right? And the team of scientists and anthropologists and archaeologists were shocked, because the first couple months there, they didn't find one bone of an infant, which is unheard of. And they found very few bones of females, which was unheard of. Well, towards the end of the expedition, they did find the partial bones of an infant. They found two infants, about a conclusion, but they found the partial bones of an infant in the Caucasoid Mountains, and one of those partial bones had teeth marks on it. So somebody ate the child, and they found a thigh bone of a small female, and it was tooth marks on her thigh bone as well. So, implication being that at some point, children and tiny women were food during the Younger Dryas.
Yep. Who is this? Sam Steak says.
Come on, Sam. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? Is my mic okay,
It's
or is it
kind
terrible?
A
of
lot of noise in the background.
Sam's.
I'm sorry. I got the Beats headphones on, but I think it's using the phone's mic. But you kind of moved on from this. I was just gonna say what Oni was saying. The Dios. I think that's ancient Latin for children of God or people of God. That's kind of what I was gonna throw in and see if you guys ever heard of that. Where it's like the people who first came to the Americas, they thought they were in the Middle East. So in their journal, they wrote, "We found Dios," as in children of God or people of God, and then it got badly translated and became Indians. But I'll hop off because my mic's bad. My bad, yeah.
Yeah,
God
Thank
bless.
you for the input.
that's true. In Dios means of God. So that's true. It's a lot, ladies and gentlemen. It's a lot we don't know, and I've been studying this stuff for a long time. You know what? I'm coming up on a little over 20 years. Believe I know I look a lot younger than I am. I'm not that old. I'm an '80s baby, but I've been studying this since early 2000s, and I'm just now scratching the surface. And let me get something real straight with y'all. I'm not scratching the surface for no goddamn book. These books are psychological warfare tools, unless we write them, which is why I'm trying to write my own books and encourage people around me to write their own books. But I'm scratching the surface by talking to y'all, by talking to elders, and by traveling the world. In a lot of ways, ladies and gentlemen, the story of history that I'm discovering from actually being in the places, being in the world, is diametrically opposed to the story in the fucking book. I remember years ago, I was teaching an American history course, and I had just published my book. And in my book, I did a lot of research on Pocahontas. Her name was Amanute, but Pocahontas. Pocahontas is a pejorative. It means you badass little girl because she never listened to her dad. Her dad said, Chief Powhatan said, leave those Europeans alone. I don't trust them. She's like, Daddy, they're harmless. She learned the hard way. Hence Pocahontas, the mischievous one. Well, I made them write my. At that point, that part of my book was just an essay of I put in a journal, a scholarly journal. We read that essay in class, and my undergrads were just shocked, like, "Holy shit, no way!" Like she's 15 years old. For some accounts, Pocahontas was 14. They forced her to learn the Bible. They kept her in captivity for a year, and then they made her marry a 40-some-year-old man to have a baby to get rights to the land. My undergrads didn't know that. They were like, I've never heard of this before. Well, anyway, what I did intentionally after we finished that section of the lesson is that next week we watched Disney's Pocahontas. That's all we did for the whole week. And I'm telling you, once you know the whole story, you'll see how diametrically opposed the narrative is to the real story. The story of Disney's Pocahontas, I don't know if any of you in here are old enough to remember it. They made Pocahontas, number one, look older than John Smith. Y'all remember that? She looked like she's about 28. John Smith looked like he's about 17.
25, yep.
Yeah, and they made Pocahontas look like a sexual predator. And the whole time I was like, no, 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 no. She was not a sexual predator. She was a child, you know. So why I bring this up? I brought this up to kind of illustrate what I'm starting to see about the official story of history in a lot of different arenas is diametrically opposed to what the truth is. And my question to y'all is, what's the need? Why is there such a need to counter the truth? You know?
I was told that people don't want us to know who we really are, where we come from.
Facts.
I concur. They don't want us to know what really happened over here.
I feel like that touches with AI as well, because if you don't have a perspective that's from your people, that's true to you, then the AI can tell you whatever perspective and change the facts on everything. That's how it kind of gets transhuman. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I'm glad, Sam. I'm glad.
Yeah, I want.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
I
Nikki.
want to see. I want to see. I apologize. I don't be saying much
No,
when
you
I'm
go ahead
jumping and cut in.
anytime.
I apologize to all of y'all. See, Killer, I want to hear what you have to say. I don't hear you coming up on our stage much. Back in the days, years ago, we used to share stages all the time, and now he barely comes up. So I'm trying to get him to come up and speak, but he don't have to if he don't want to.
Oh, you're
I
more than
don't see
welcome
him
to
no
if you
more.
want to, bro. While we
I don't. I think he left. I tried to pull him up, but I think he left.
okay, I want to kind of piggyback off what Sam said. I have a hard time articulating this because it's kind of in my work life, and sometimes things in your work life, if you got like a specific job, it's hard to explain to your significant other or your friends or on spaces. It's like on work at work is common knowledge, but in real life it's like, what are you talking about? But the whole AI thing that Sam brought up, I'm watching it being used. And like our sister Wani said, it's good if you use it, and I'm paraphrasing you, Wani, but you kind of use it as AI as a backup or use it to check as a like a fail safe. But
Yes.
systematically, and I'm gonna try my best to explain it. I might fail. What I'm seeing I'm seeing AI being systematically implemented at colleges, and since I'm at the college education, I'm seeing that it's being implemented in middle schools and high school, elementary school. AI is taking the place. Um, yeah, I just saw that, Nikki. Yep, yep. But AI is being pushed to take the place of these books. I The last historically black college I taught at in Tennessee, the librarian, me and the librarian had a really good relationship. I learned in law school that you make good friends with the librarian The hell with everybody else. You need another librarian. Well, me and the librarian, one of the librarians, she wasn't the head one, but she was one of them. She was like, across the whole historically college network, they're getting rid of libraries. I mean, they're going to keep the building, but they're getting rid of books and they're replacing all the media with digitally uploaded media. And I tried to fight it. I was like, hell no, because digital media can be manipulated. But there's a push for AI to really be in the place of hardcore, I mean, hardback books. And that's a problem because Wani was the first person to bring it to my attention, really. I used AI first semester last year, and it just lied about the Georgia corporation. It just straight lied. It was like it said some shit like I said did Georgia was founded through the Georgia corporation vis-a-vis uh Captain James Oglethorpe. And before I finished the sentence writing it in Chat GPT, a conclusion came up that said Georgia was not found. The story that Georgia was founded as a colony of debtors under the leadership of James Oglethorpe is not true. It's false. And I was like wondering, why would it lie like that? That's exactly why Georgia was founded. That's exactly where the word Georgia came from. Yeah, and I was in Atlanta a couple weeks ago. Um, at the, you look at my picture, we were pushing a bill in the House of Representatives. And as I was walking down the steps with some of my attorney friends and a couple of my students and colleagues, one of my students was like, Dr. A, look right there. I got a picture of it I'm gonna post one of these days. But she was like, look right there. There's a big statue, like gargantuan statue downstairs at Georgia House of Representatives of Captain James Oglethorpe standing tall. And I was like, yeah. AI, you damn right AI was lying. AI is trying.
Well, it
Go ahead.
has it has narratives is what I'm finding. And if the narrative is that you're trying to form uh, some sort of negative thing against white people, and just really very protective of Hitler, very protective of white people in general. And if you form some sort of narrative that goes against what it wants to say, it will start pushing back. I had a problem earlier today with the word Proto Austronesian. So if the first people in Sunderland were the Negritos, I said, well, what's the Negrito's scientific name? Because when you start going back and you say, what's their scientific name? They start talking about the Ada people, these people. I'm not going to write all that down. They have to have a collective name, right? So, what the researchers have done is they've given them these names and then they backed up off of it. You should see how many Australo this they have for them. Australoids, this, that, the other. And then they branch off like every other group does, and then they become these separate people, like people in the Andaman Islands. They're not saying they're the same as those Sentinelese people that are haven't been touched by society, but they're both Negritos. But they're trying to, separate them so we can't form an idea about who they are. They just want you to think they're random people, just a ghost. So I said, well, they have to be Proto-Austronesian because they're there before the people that are there. The people there now are Austronesian. So if you go backward, they have to be Proto-Austronesian. Oh no, wants to fight and argue. So I finally squeezed the truth out of it. I had to go redo all the times that I put Proto-Austronesian. They are Proto-Austronesian. They're what's there before the Austronesians. See, waves and waves of new mutated people came and tried to wash them away. But the narrative is to not give these people a name and treat them like they don't exist. They want them to be ghost people. Like, oh no, you can't call them that because that name's taken. You can't say this. Oh no, there's Austronesians. I said, I know there's Austronesians, but I called them proto. That means before. Just like people that were on the Caspian steppe were, they were proto Scandinavians. They hadn't become Scandinavian yet. They hadn't gotten to Scandinavia, but they were going to go there. So we call them proto Scandinavians. And we talk about where they went when they left the Caspian steppe. That's what you do. You're saying we know these people are not Greek, but at some point we know they're going to go to Greece. So we're going to track what they did on their way. That's a typical scientific terminology. But they want these Negritos to be nameless. They just want to call them Negritos and then give them those other names that nobody knows. See, when they were saying Sentinelese, I didn't know that they were a Negrito group. And that's how they like it. You see, just random.
What's the connection? What connection could we draw upon?
Well, they don't want to talk about those. Those people are extremely important historically. They populated everywhere. They populated here, they populated the Pacific Islands, they populated Southeast Asia, they populated Australia. Not the same group because the people in Australia are taller, they're full statured, and these people are small statured. You see, they're different, but the people in Australia branched off from them. They both spent time in Central Asia, and then they both ended up in Southeast Asia. They don't want you to know about them. They want you to believe they're going to, well, soon they'll be extinct because of neglect. They're already protected groups. They already have their, the little bit of land that they have protected. But those people around them make money on them. They say, hey, you want to go up to the mountains and see those people? They're
Wow.
tiny and they run around. Now, if you look at all of these islands, they all have a story about these small people running around doing things on the island. They're all the foundation of all those Polynesian, Micronesian, Melanesian islands. They were there first. Why wouldn't they be? They had a head start of tens of thousands of years over the others that just came over there a few thousand years ago. So they were there, and no one wants to admit that. They don't want to admit it here in the New World that they were here. They don't want to admit that they don't even want to admit they're in the Philippines. They act like they don't exist. They have them all up in the mountains, shoved up in the mountains. They have them shoved up and shut off everywhere they live. And that's why those people, those Sentinelese people, their attitude is if you come over here, we'll put a bow and arrow in your forehead. And you deserve it for bothering them for tens of thousands of years that they've been on this earth. They were here, some of the first people here in a lot of places all over Asia, and they have been harassed. Sorry.
Mm, that's deep, Wani. That's deep. You had me thinking the whole time you're talking. Is what I want to know two things. I want to know what them Senegalese, what them Sentinelese. How do you say it? Sentinelese,
Sentinelese. It's hard
Sentinelese.
to say.
I want to say Senegalese, but that's not right.
Right. Right.
I want to know what they got up on that island.
Bow and arrow for our foreheads. Just, I think their attitude is stay away, leave us alone, because they've decimated their group. You see, they've killed them. Remember in Taiwan they have the festival of the Little Black Dwarf
Yeah.
because they murdered them, and they found one of them in a cave, a small statured Negrito. And of course, they wanted to play games with the name. I said, What kind of person is this? Oh, it's this, it's that." I said, "That's a Negrito." "Oh, okay, yeah." But they don't want to say it. They did find proof. Those people have been doing that for 1,000 years. They've been having that ceremony of the little black dwarf. Now, the Chinese people said there's some black dwarfs coming from the south. We gotta stop. We gotta stop those little guys.
We got to stop them.
We can't stand them. And I said, okay, that's some of those Negritos. They don't like them. They don't like them not because they're violent, not because they did anything, but because they're traditional. Just the same reason they hate the Twa. They live traditionally. And when you live traditionally, that means that you have a territory. You go in this lake, you go in this forest, you go here and you go there to gather your food. Now, these other people, these agriculturalists, they don't like that. It's like, no, you can't come over here. This is our land. You can't trespass. This has been the battle that they've had against all the indigenous people on the earth. And as you see, the Twa people, this is them. They cross over borders. The Africans don't like it. Colonists don't like it. They don't have a passport. Nobody likes it. They hunt. Nobody likes it. They forage. Nobody likes it. They don't like anything about them. And they're the most interesting people you're ever going to meet on the earth. Probably magical. I didn't see any magic, but I did hear about it. And I saw signs of it. So they're living their life. They kind of live in another dimension. And a lot of these people do. They're just not like us. And that's not bad. There's other people that live in a way and we don't understand it, like up in the tundra. You have people that chase reindeer all day. Do you want to do that? No. Could I do it? No, I'd be dead in 20 minutes.
Right, like
If
the
I did,
Inuits.
if I did what those little boys in the tundra do, I wouldn't make it. My eyeballs would freeze.
Yeah, we would die of
So,
exposure.
right. And he's just running
Or the
around.
people that make the cashmere sweaters, they chase those deers around year round to make those
Mm,
sweaters.
that's right. Those people are different. They think differently. They don't have the same things that they're doing or thinking about in their minds. And they deserve to be protected if they want to live in a traditional manner. But they always have somebody trying to mess with them. They cannot be left alone.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder why European society, and it's not just European society, but it's also like you brought up the Chinese, why they're obsessed with the melanated mountain people, because obviously the melanated mountain people and the people I'm referring to are called the Hmong. During the Vietnam War, um, special forces. Now, Army Special Forces operates differently than SEALs. Special Forces are teachers, so they fly down and they find an enemy of our enemy and they make a friend and they teach them how to fight. So the enemy of our enemy, the North Vietnamese, obviously, were the brown people in the mountains, the people Mwani was talking about. So the version of the Negritos in Vietnam and Thailand are called the Hmong. They're like sometimes jet black people that lived up in the mountains that despise the Vietnamese because most Vietnamese are ethnically Chinese. We're talking about in the north. They're ethnically Chinese, and they looked down at the Hmong. And the Hmong wanted, if they didn't get anything else, they wanted to kill the Vietnamese for passing judgment on them. Um, my point of bringing that up is for years the Vietnamese have been trying to kill the Hmong, and they chased the Hmong out of Vietnam into the mountains. What is this about? What is this hatred for black
And
skin?
they're the roots. They are I swear to God, the Negrito, which is an Australo Melanesian person, that's their technical name. They are the roots of all of those people that are bothering them. It doesn't matter. Laos, Vietnamese, Chinese, all of these people have a standing hatred of them based on two things. The first thing is that they live traditionally, they hunt and gather, and they want to own land. That's a challenge to their way of thinking of wanting to own land versus someone living off the land. And there is a hatred of brown skin. They- I don't know what it is, but it is a thing. And they hate them for that. It's a combination. They hate them because they're as far away from being white as you can be when you're brown. And they don't like the fact that they're traditionalists. They don't like that. And they don't seem to be able to just, you know, make a place for them. It's so hard. And I know for a fact that these people are very humble, very quiet. They don't cause any problems and they take a lot of grief.
Yeah, just like us. Well, just like us, these brown people, these Negritos, these Hmong of North Vietnam and Thailand, Laos, Cambodia. Another thing that we have in common is the dominant society cannot leave them the fuck alone. Let's look at tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we started our little space, you know, like 100 people, 80 people, something like that, in here minding our business, talking as scholars. Everybody in here is a fucking scholar. We grown as hell, reciting books, and some suspected white supremacists show up in our space. Why are you here? What do you want? What can I help you with? If you think you're better than me and more supreme than me, why are you following me around, raising your hand to speak on my stage? Somebody explain that to me. Is it an obsession? Crickets.
Yes. Yes, it is.
I don't know if I don't know if I could, and I don't mean to just abruptly cut in, but I'm glad that you just asked that because I was just seeing a video where some girls was playing around on like that one site where people randomly video chat each other and shit, and they were just going around just saying nigga, 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 right? She ended up saying it to somebody she actually recognized, and it was a YouTuber, and she was like, dude, like I watch all of your videos. You know what I'm saying? The same girl that's trolling, or whether it's trolling, whether she's serious or not, with the nigga shit. She's over here being like to this black nigga like, oh, but dude, I love your videos. I watch your stuff. So it's like to me, it seems like a mix of trolling, mix of power, mix of boredom. Like, a lot of motherfuckers be bored. A lot of motherfuckers niggas people think that nigga affects us and shit, that we like lose our minds and shit. So what I'm saying? I don't know, man, but it's a good question. It's a good question.
It,
It's
it's
a good question.
it's an obsession. Like that gentleman that I blocked that was making all these threats. Now, since we want to throw threats out there, if you want to talk about shutting somebody's channel down, I would say his channel's at risk of being shut down because I actually read the policies. Good thing about law school is it makes you read every policy you sign. And in X's policies, there's one condition about doxing people or something like that. So I could if I would want to, I could reward the tape back to there and have him block. But my point is that gentleman felt the need to exert some type of authority over somebody that he didn't have, somebody that he didn't know. So, and didn't know, like, I don't understand it. I don't understand, like, if you have the whole world, right? Which is what the media tells me a certain group of people has. I don't know if I believe it, but okay, let's roll with it. If you have the whole world in your hand, why does it become important for you to go to the crevasses? I'm being it's crevices, but I just want to say crevasses once. Go to the crevices of the world and find somebody to show, ha, look at me, I have the world. Neely Fuller talked about that shit. And Neely Fuller said some dynamite shit before he died. Neely Fuller said the rich member of the dominant society, his house on the hill, his mansion, his beautiful wife with, kids that are going off to the Ivy League don't mean nothing unless somebody else is suffering. So we're looking at a
That's
psychology.
why I didn't like having, because I used to say, I couldn't understand why rich people don't mind having homeless people laying around in front of where they live. They don't seem to mind as much as you would think they do. Do they like having people looking like that laying around the society so they can feel good about themselves? Is that what I'm missing?
Yes. There's one of my favorite books growing up as a child is a book by a racist, a very brilliant racist named Tom Wolfe. Some of y'all know him, some of you don't. But Tom Wolfe wrote a book in the 80s called The Bonfire of the Vanities, where he talked about, you remember that money craze in 80 of in the 1980s of people, stockbrokers, and those creeps. The whole Trump era of just like ultra money, the first stage of that. Well, that's the book that tells you everything you need to know. Well, in the book, there was a rich character from all the right schools and all the right breeding named Sherman McCoy. He's the main character, Sherman McCoy. Although he wasn't pure English blue blood, he had a little um, country boy in him. So the rich dominant society would call him. They made fun of him a little bit, even though he's ultra rich. They call him Sherman McCoy, the Mountain Boy. So I said that to say there is a hierarchy amongst them of I'm more pure than you, which is some foundational Black Americans could never understand. I don't understand it. But this is my point of bringing the whole thing up. In the book, here's this billionaire. Um, every morning before he hits the stock exchange, and those of you who lived in New York in the some time ago, I lived in 2000s, early 2000s in the city. But any of you who ever lived in New York remembers back in the day, they used to have old black men in the subways that would shine your shoes. It would always be, they'd be older, like in their 70s or whatnot. And Sherman McCoy, the character, his favorite thing to do was to get his shoes shined by old Mr. I think his name was Mr. Charlie. It was an old black man, bald head, before he went to the exchange. Getting his shoes shined gave him his confidence to stand up and command stocks. And Tom Wolfe snitched on the dominant society. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, he said something like Sherman loved to look down at Mr. Charlie's bald head. Mr. Charlie had melanoma, some type of skin cancer on the top of his head, that was darker than the rest of his brown head. This is the Tom Wolfe writing. It was darker than the rest of his brown head, and it looked like chocolate chips. Mr. Charlie's whole head looked like a chocolate chip cookie to Sherman. Mr. Charlie's head was delicious. And what Tom Wolfe was talking about is Sherman. And this shit gonna piss y'all off. It pissed me off, but it's one of those piss offs you got to keep reading over and over again because it's the shock factor. Sherman McCoy was a billionaire going in the midst of multi-billionaires who looked down at Sherman McCoy because they were 100% English and could track their lineage to the Queen or whatever. And in order for Sherman to have the confidence to face these real one percenters, he needed to look down at Mr. Charlie's head and say, I'm a god compared to Mr. Charlie. That's what the fuck we dealing with. And let me tell
Yes,
go ahead.
that's what it is. I watched Bonfire of the Vanities and I don't remember any of that, so I need to. What did I watch?
Well, I've never seen the movie. I think Daryl Hannah was in it or something. I heard it was god awful. I read the book over.
I I think I watched. I don't watch anything with Daryl Hannah in it, so it must be an older version, maybe made in the '60s or '70s.
Well, the movie was made right after the book in the 80s, maybe early 90s. I heard the
Oh,
movie. I thought
then
about
that
watching
can't
it.
be.
I'll tell you who was in it. Tom Hanks was in it, right? It's a unmemorable
I'm gonna
movie.
look it up now because I might be thinking of something
No,
else.
you're right. You're right. I've never seen it, and I've everybody I know in the literary world has told me not to. They said it's just it's bullshit compared to the book. It's no way you could make a movie off that book because it's too many layers. But the book just basically talks about one percenters and how they feel about brown people. Basically, like I put in the jumbotron once a month. In this Western world, everything's a hierarchy. People are functioning the dominant society get up and function, even though a lot of them broke just like we are. They function because they've been told at least you're not an N word. You got it? And when some of them try us and come into our spaces now, both um, virtually and in personam, we're not the same. We're not. We know what's going on, and we know the truth, and they're having a hard time dealing with that, which ain't my fucking problem. But I'm just giving y'all a context for understanding.
100, dude. I was gonna say it's deep down resentment.
I don't. How could it be resentment? What have we done?
I think it's. Well, I always looked at it like I'm sorry for interrupting, but I read the statistic once, and I may butcher it, but it's like I think it said 80% of people who commit sexual abuse have been sexually abused, and so I kind of extrapolate that to hurt people. So that person that came in here acting dumb as like the way he did, I feel like hates his own lack of intelligence, and nothing bothers him more than when he sees people that aren't the same skin color as him speaking intelligent like you guys do in this group. So I think there's the resentment there. Like it comes back to himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and you mix that in with gaslighting. What foundational Black Americans need, what we all need to understand is, um, the dominant society gaslit the fuck out their children. They told their children that they're better than us and that we're stupid. And y'all know this. I don't even have to tell y'all this. They did all that gaslighting, which, now that the money system's kind of failing a bit, allegedly, the dominant society is having a hard time dealing with that. They're like, wait a minute, my daddy. I mean, I grew up with somebody like that. Blonde, blue eyes, nice people, really nice people, believe it or not. But the person I'm talking about, is grandmother. One time I went over his grandmother's house in Alabama, and I pretended like I didn't hear, but I heard his grandmama said some shit like, "Why you want to be hanging around him?" And he's like, "Well, Mima, that's my friend." And I heard his grandmama say, "Well, don't you think he's gonna be jealous of you?" She was gaslighting this. And I ended up going to college, law school, grad school, having fucking writing congressional reports and having that type of career. And I'm not judging him, but he didn't finish college. But his grandmama gaslit him to think that he's always going to be better than me. And I think on some level that makes certain people not work as hard. You know, Growing up in Alabama and having people tell me, I had a lot of dominant society teachers and shit. And they always, I was like Malcolm X, God damn it. They was like, why would you want to do that? I'd be like, I want to be an attorney or a surgeon. No, you don't need to do that. You need to be a carpenter. Jesus was a carpenter. All that shit you seen in the Malcolm X movie is shit I used to hear. Go ahead, Capone.
Nothing, Professor, just to go off your point. Excellent, excellent room tonight, But yeah, we put another fight on their hands. You know what I mean? Because they gonna need us, and once we delineate from them and these tethers and everybody undermining our community, they ain't gonna know what to do with themselves. And so by us doing that, they have to fabricate these scenarios and alter history and how these psyops and psyops on our women and children to undermine our progression and keep us in the dark on who we really are. So I don't feel as if we need to care about that. What we need to do is keep on going, because without us in their life, they going back to having plain old shit, like having carrots in their macaroni and cheese, raisins in their potato salad and shit. They life ain't got no flavor without us in it. And so, with that being said, if we leave, who you think finna leave too? They women. They women ain't finna stay around and stick with them. We taking all that shit once we go somewhere, because we throw the best parties, we have the best food, our people live longer, and we can go outside in 80-degree weather without using sunblock or having the case of death come upon us from melanoma. And I land on that.
Yeah, what the brother's saying is true. I don't have a scholarship in front of me, but in Dr. Claude Anderson's other book, he argued. Well, he didn't argue. He fucking proved that the down payment on Western society came from the transatlantic slave trade. Foundational Black Americans, you are, you are the startup capital. I am.
Black labor, white wealth. I got
Yes,
that
sir.
verse.
I read it over and over again. We are like literally startup capital in this fucking room right now. We started this fucking country, and maybe to piggyback off what Sam's point was, it's a possible. And I'm not trying to. My daddy taught me this. My daddy said, if somebody hits you in the mouth, it doesn't matter why they hit you. It matters that they hit you. And I live my life like that. I don't give a fuck about your violin. Fuck you. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the things about, you know what I'm saying? That's one of the things about this country that drives me nuts. It's like when the dominant society does something, there's a goddamn violin, but when Carmelo Anthony defends himself, you know, y'all know where I'm going with this. But to your point,
On the same grounds they use, on the same grounds of defense they use,
right?
and now it's a problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But to Sam's point, maybe there's a possibility that they resent us because they know that we were the startup capital. But then again, my daddy said, don't matter why they hit you, it matters that they hit you. And I think we need to start operating like that. For years, we've been trying to figure out why, why are they doing this to us? Why are they doing this to one of my heroes, Dr. Amos Wilson, said, um, I'm laughing because I hear the way he said it in my head, and he said it a lot better than I can say it. But he's like, black people, we always running around concerned about why white people don't like us, and he said we inculcate that dislike. Inculcate means to take it in and become it, right? So if people keep telling me, like when I was growing up in Birmingham, a lot of white people would say, "Man, you're not supposed to be in school. You supposed to be on the street. You supposed to be. Ain't you a thug? Ain't you?" They were all outright with it back then. And a lot of my, unfortunately, a lot of brothers and sisters in Birmingham inculcated it. They start saying, well, shit, I'm not supposed to be in here with a book bag on. Let me hit the corner because that's where children rise to expectation. That's inculcation. But Dr. Ames Wilson said some deep ass shit. He said, maybe the reason why they're lynching you is, have you ever thought that they might be pathological? We're trying to understand people who are acting pathological. You don't sit up and say, "Oh, I wonder why this serial killer shot up the neighborhood. I wonder what happened to him." No, you don't do that.
We're on different phases. I've never expected anything from white people. I see that they enjoy being racist. I mean, I never expect them to not do it. If they don't, it's a nice surprise, but I don't expect them not to give it up. It's something, it's very deeply ingrained, and I expect it to be there no matter what the circumstances are. And I think that a lot of people are, I'm not going to say delusional, but I'm going to say optimistic. They're optimistic because they can meet someone. When I was younger, I had, different types of friends from different races, backgrounds. I didn't care because I was a child and I didn't get any Negro wake up calls, but I understand what's going on. I didn't get the call, any Negro wake up calls from them, but I did get a lot of, it wasn't a wake up call though, because I was told to expect racism, not to uh, encourage it, but that it exists and you could experience it. So I don't expect them to not do it. And it's just a part of them, like the way that they talk. You mean you can see it coming a mile away, just like, and it can be random and it's nuanced sometimes, it's subtle sometimes, it comes in all forms. Somebody could just be on the street thinking that they're nice and they're like, oh, Trump sucks. And that's their come on line to me. Some woman's walking down the street, she wants to say hi, and she opens up with Trump sucks or I don't like Trump because she just assumes that I am a Democrat or that I like Democrat policies when I don't. But they always have something like that that's, mildly offensive, stupid, or they could be very offensive. But I don't expect them not to do it. Like I said, if they don't do it, fine. But they've been doing this so long. Can we really just sit here and expect them to stop? There's nothing you can do. You can date them, you can lay up in the bed with them, you can have a child with them, and people that do all those things still report that they were called a nigger or that they resorted to, you know, there's nothing you can do with them that overrides. We're talking about childbirth and marriage, and those things do not override the racism.
No
And
immunity.
you can get somebody white to like you, love you, but it's not going to override the racism. I'm just saying it. I've seen it happen. I've seen people marry these people and have kids with them, and they still cry to me on the phone about it. Men and women.
I got one in my family, Wani, and
Right.
I'm not gonna identify the family member, but let's just say, ladies and gentlemen, if y'all think I'm smart, I ain't got shit on this family member. She's an engineer. Um, just badder than a motherfucker. Thermodynamics. Well, she married a very Nordic Caucasian person, kind of like Frozen, that whole thing. And we're kind of light skinned in the first place, so my little family members through her don't even look. The youngest looks a little black. He looks mixed, but the oldest don't even look black at all. But I watched this engineer um go from being a typical engineer, nerdy, sophisticated, to start wearing do rags. And my mom and stuff was like, "What the fuck you got a do rag on?" Like, basically, in the household that she joined, she went from being an engineer, even though she the breadwinner. She went from being the engineer to like the maid. She took a maid look, like this, like they wanted her to dress like Harriet Tubman or some shit. And we all saw it, but she couldn't see it. But the N word did pop up, and the N word was told to her by one of her children, because the grandmama, we call them Meemaw. The Meemaw said, "Your mama's a N word." So it's no escape. There's a movie I watched by accident the other day called How to Train Your Dragon or some shit. It's a cartoon, and it's about some. Um, they look like Celtic people. It's a fictitious thing, but they're of European origin. And this group of people spend their whole time training the boys, training in culture, the girls training in culture to protect the boy, to help the boys when they get mauled by a dragon. The boys are training how to kill a dragon. The whole culture of this village is, we're gonna kill a dragon. We're gonna kill a dragon. And I thought about it on a deep metaphysical level, and I was like, wow, that's how certain cultures have been trained against foundational Black Americans. Be better than the N words. Be better than the N words. And when you take that away from them, they don't know how to autocorrect. That's all they got. You know. Go ahead, Frost. I'm assuming it says Frost. It's a snowflake.
No, my bad, big dog. No, sir. I just had a quick question. Well, you were kind of alluding to it just now. I just wanted to understand why these people, different cultures, uh, almost never agree on anything but their disdain for us, and where does that come from?
It comes. You know what? I got to get you something for that. I got to go get. Let me find Dr. Howard Zinn's book, because he puts it. He was from the dominant culture, and he snitched his ass off with this book, buddy. But on Dr. Howard Zinn, it comes from, ultimately at its core, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I asked a question in space the other night. Where is this evil? It's coming from a singular source. But what is that singular source? I don't know.
Because we shine under the abuse. That's number one. People love us. We are the underdog. Everybody roots for the underdog, and we are quintessentially the underdog. And they secretly root for us because sometimes people feel in their own individual lives like underdogs. So they do root for us secretly, but they have to keep up a good front, and they have layers and layers of hatred from nowhere. We're the one that should be hating someone. That's another mind game. If they keep you defensive, you won't go on the offensive, right? We should be the ones on the offensive on their ass, but we're not because we're always defending fake statistics, fake crime statistics. They keep spouting off about Chicago, but they don't want to talk about the real crime. You know, the FBI does not demand that cities show their crime. So we keep turning our crime stats over all the time and no one else is doing it. This is why that Sandy Hook shooting of all those children, there were no murders according to the FBI in that town. This is why that was considered, you know, not an event, but it was an event. I'm convinced it was. But even if it wasn't, the point is that I found out that the FBI doesn't require these towns to turn over the records. And they can keep it looking like they don't have any crime. They keep their property values up while we, for some reason, have to turn over all of our crime records. And then they can make it look like we're these big time criminals. We're nothing. We're peons in the world of criminality. Literal peons. We have no organized crime, not making any money. It's just puny. And we're surrounded by criminals. We're surrounded by Armenian gangsters. We have had hundreds of years of Italian mafia activity. They didn't go away. How did they operate for that long without getting caught? Because they paid the police to go away. These people are organized criminals and they just simply pay off anyone who wants to go against them.
And
I mean, just, and it's everybody. It's all the way down to the cartels, MS-13. How are you walking around with tattoos on your body saying the gang you're in? Saying everything,
yeah,
going in and out of jail, and nobody knows who you are. Oh, we can't figure out. Oh, it's a mystery. No, it isn't. They've tattooed their activities on their bodies. You could just deport them on sight. They got to walk around doing whatever they wanted to do in this land. And all of these people, we have Asian women with mattresses out on the sidewalk in Flushing, but we're credited for being prostitutes. These people have whored us around in circles. We could never turn the tricks that the people talking have turned. Never. If from every level of prostitution we pale in comparison to our uh, critics, any African coming in here, you got to be kidding me. You have millions of prostitutes all over Europe, all over Asia, all over Africa. Millions. Any Asian woman coming in here, you've got prostitute, you've got brothels everywhere. You sell children, you do snuff films with children for the tourists. You do everything under the sun. We could never come close if we tried in a million years to reach that level. Talk about the Caribbeans, they come over here with the attitude, ew, you're out your culture. Really? The whole culture is going to rape the tourist. They send 12-year-olds over to the tourist areas to turn tricks. Their whole cultures are turning tricks. And they're talking about some black exploitation film that they saw in the 70s, where we glamorized pimps in velvet hats and prostitutes. And they're doing real things, not fictional things, not pockets of crime, straight up international crime all over the place. We don't export crime. We don't have gangs over in the Netherlands, but guess who does? You see? And we believe it. We have our own people coming in here. We're all on drugs and in
that's
jail.
the shit
No,
that
we're
pisses me
not.
off on him.
Right. Me too.
Call to
We believe we believe they're press clippings. We don't double check it. We see somebody puts up a chart, we believe it. The Africans literally came over here and just wrote a bunch of false articles about how great they're doing. 50% of them are on welfare and they stay on welfare. They're not doctors and nurses. They have a lot of nurse jobs, but they also have a lot of people busted for fake nurse credentials. Everything that they're doing here is going to blow up in their face because they're just inherently they're just criminals.
I'm
All
hearing
of
that a
these people.
lot, and a lot more of the
Yeah.
fake medical credentials.
Yeah, all of these people are little con artist criminals.
Oh hell yeah! Hey, Sister One, especially up here in the Bay Area, they just got hit from doing some shit like that at one of the schools. One of the schools I went to, man, I was like, y'all mean to tell me these motherfuckers wasn't even qualified, trying to teach people to get qualified that ain't even qualified themselves. That shit was crazy.
Yeah, I was teaching at a school in Tennessee, a historically black college that had a bunch of Nigerian professors, and they would just brag. I went to law school. I don't have a PhD. Um, I have a different degree that allows me to teach on a college level, but they would come around. I have a PhD, just rubbing that shit in my face like I gave a fuck. But anyway, before it all ended, these motherfuckers lying about their PhD. Like, how do you give somebody the benefit of the doubt um to teach? Like when I every university I apply to, or college that I apply to, I go through a strenuous credential check. I have to go contact all my institutions and get sealed copies of my transcript, which is a bitch and it costs money. So tell me, how did they get through all these processes and have fake credentials? How does that work? It has to be. Go
Because
ahead, one.
we're being told to get real ID and being threatened and pressured, and foreigners don't have to do anything. They just show up and get whatever loans and everything handed to them. That's why. It's a different standard. We have double standards.
That's what I figured. It's a whole nother standard. I heard our brother Tariq Nasheed talking about some the other. I missed the show, but I got the rerun, and the shit had me like throwing shit in my car, man, because it happened to me. I made like 70,000 right out of college, and not bad back then. And I saw a house down the street from my job I wanted in Alabama, and the house was, let's just say it was 50,000, a little less than that. I had a fucking Lexus. My Lexus was 60 grand. Went, got the Lexus, no money down, no problem. You know what I'm saying? Went to get a house that cost less than my goddamn car. Paid all that money, earnest money, got the inspection and shit. Oh, I'm sorry. We found out that you have student loans. We can't give you the house. And I was too young to understand that shit. But years later, so many of my black male friends have encountered that same shit of, oh, I'm sorry, you have an 800 credit score and you're a neurosurgeon, but unfortunately you have $300,000 worth of loans from medical school and we can't give you the house. Now let's flip it to the other side of the railroad track, because I went to one of them schools and I know all the dominant society. I went to high school with a dude who, uh, dominant society dude, got convicted of attempted murder. He was hooked on drugs. Attempted murder, ladies and gentlemen, did prison time and got out of prison on parole and got accepted to a program that got help pay his down payment on him a house, a nice house. You know what I'm saying? Have y'all ever heard of that happening for a brother? No. It's all types of little slick ways. I have a close friend that didn't have a fucking job, did not have a job, put musician on his house application, and they gave him a no money down, loan on a home. So it's some type of hidden hand that helps the dominant society that don't help us, which is why I'm excited.
Are they getting co-signers?
This dude didn't. I remember when he got it. I was like, man, ain't nobody gonna be.
No. Mm-mm.
I was like, ain't nobody giving you no fucking house because I had just applied for my house with a damn near 800 credit score, 70,000 a year. My Lexus was almost paid off. Oh, we're sorry, your student loan. Da 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 da. It's always a goddamn excuse with us.
Go look at some of those. What's that channel where people like they remodel houses or they look they go and they look for houses all the time. A lot of those young white couples on there, they get the best houses, and
I watch
you
those
ask
shows,
them what
Sister
they
Nikki. I know exactly what you're talking about on the HGTV show
you know what
because I plan on
you
building
know
my
what I'm
house, so
about
I
to
know exactly what
say.
you're talking about. Yeah,
You know
girl.
what I'm about to say.
Hey, man. Go ahead. I'll let you cook though. You got it.
No, but you ask them what they do for a living, they'd be like, "Oh, I collect milk bottles or something,
No
something
shit.
like that."
No,
Yeah,
Um,
no, no.
they none
It
of
be
them ever have
students,
jobs.
they
students.
turn tricks
Nah, we
Yeah,
ask
on
what
the
they do.
young.
Oh
students.
well, I own a dog washing company. Like bitch, a dog
Mm-hmm.
washing company, and you getting a
Wash your
$500,000
woman.
makeover in your house?
That's enough to make you real bitter about these people because you know you work so hard to get what you want, and then when you go to and when you thinking that all your hard work is about to pay off, and somebody pulls what professor says was pulled on him, and you see them getting their houses, and they try to make it seem like you need to just pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and they're just looking out for each other. It really makes you bitter, makes you resentful towards them.
Yeah, yeah. That shit happened to me twice. It happened to me again right before the pandemic, or was it during the pandemic? So it was like 2020, around in there. And I had a damn almost 800, couple points away from 800 credit score. Paid that Lexus off, and one of my homeboys told me about FHA loans. Um, and I looked up the law on it and saw that the FHA is, guaranteed. It used to be guaranteed by the federal government if you have a 585 credit score. I had an 800 basically, um, and you have to make enough, like a certain percentage of the house, which I made way much more than. And I was going to buy this house in Memphis just as an investment property, and they denied my fucking loan. I was like, huh? And they were like, oh, your student loans. I was like, wait a minute, FHA. And I'm glad y'all made me think about that because I need to look at the statute of limitations. I might file a suit on that because I'm not going to let that shit go. I'm going to look at the statute on it. But yeah, they denied me at FHA and I had an 800 credit score. All this shit is bullshit, man. And I'll tell you something else. The room's not going to want to hear this. But as hard as they are on foundational Black Americans in general to keep us away from houses, Black men, they're harder on you. They are harder on you. They really don't want a Black man to get a house. Now, a sister, if one of the sisters is qualified, they'll give you bare bones, but you better be 100% qualified. But in my case, I was above and beyond and still got denied. I'm sick and tired of it. That's one of the reasons why I'm on these spaces. Not afraid of
But
these. Go ahead.
Professor, Professor, aren't there empty houses sitting like everywhere in certain areas? Aren't there so many empty, brand new built houses
Yes, ma'am.
that you would think that they would want to get people inside? So are they just being nasty towards black people or what?
Well, yes, ma'am. That's a good question, Nikki. The answer, Nikki asked a very powerful question. To dominate a people. Well, number one, um, in America, we're a nation of laws. I teach my students this all the time, and I should say allegedly we're a nation of laws. The books say we're a nation of laws, so I'm gonna roll with it. So, in America, the basic concept, and this is not legal advice, this is scholarly advice. According to the scholars, the basic concept of home ownership is based upon England. So basically, the concept of in America, the concept of kingship applies to landowners. Got it? So in America, if you own land, y'all have heard you're the king of your castle, right? Um, so if you're a landowner, the police you get treated differently when you're a landowner. The law is different. Um, you know. You have leverage.
Professor, I don't mean to interrupt you,
No, no,
but
you're fine.
you are absolutely right because in certain situations, because I had just bought some land out in L, you know, close to Cincinnati down in L.A. And yeah, like I read like somewhere you're not really a citizen unless you own a piece of land on the in this nation. That's what I read.
That's why certain people was, cause certain colored people back then was considered white people too, because
Yep,
Yeah,
they own.
yep. I remember.
landowners.
Yep, I saw. Yep.
This shit gets deep. This shit gets deep as fuck. I'm doing scholarship for a book that I'm gonna write, and maybe a year when I'm in a position to write it, because I figured out a conspiracy really. But to answer your question, Nikki, like the two gentlemen just said, in America, land ownership changes your status as citizen in a way. In a way, it makes you the king of that land. That's the way America was set up. So there's been from my scholarly view, just through various books, I've ascertained that there's some type of hidden policy to keep black men away from being the king of their castle. Like we're not allowed. And I would bet some money. I would. I would say. Let me put $10. I say, well, I'm not gonna bet, but let's just say I would bet money that if y'all could,
We old school. Bet a dollar. Bet a
yeah,
dollar.
no, I don't want to. No, betting may be illegal in a jurisdiction that some of these suspected white supremacists are listening in, so I'm not gonna bet nothing. But I'm gonna say I'm pretty sure if y'all were to look into it, if y'all had some type of database to legally look into it, you would find that a majority of the foundational Black American house owners are female because there's been such an effort to disenfranchise the Black man. We're the target. And my dear sister and hero, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, backs that up in the ISIS paper. She says the Black male is the number one target. And for some reason, a lot of our sisters just no, they refuse to see it. They don't, they have this, it don't got nothing to do with me attitude, but it has everything to do with you because without the black male, the black female ceases to exist. The, the system of white supremacy is very patient in its implementation of its tactics. That's one thing um, that it has that we kind of don't. And again, Nikki, that deals with land ownership. I don't know, those of you old enough to remember grandmama and them having a house. You know what a house does? You know what paid for property does? That buys you time. That eliminates anxiety. When grandmama and them had a house, I could go to grandmama house and sit on her motherfucking front porch when I finished college and didn't know what the fuck I was doing, or I was about to ship off to college and didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And I would just stay at grandmama house for 2 weeks. I didn't pay no rent, you know, had to buy groceries here and there. But that brought me time to think. It was my property. Wasn't nobody running around yelling and shit. Cause this is my grandmama yard. Better get the fuck off my grandmama yard. What the fuck wrong with you? She live in DC too. Right? The dominant society has that type of time because they sit on the front porch in their neighborhoods. Well, I think I might want to be a dentist. I might want to be a school teacher. I might want to go to be a pilot. They have that time as children to think, that stability to think. Whereas we are mostly in unstable situations, which drives our logic. Our logic becomes, I need to get the fuck out of here. Some type of way, either A, I need to get the fuck out of here, and or B, I need to get my mama the fuck up out of here. So guess what? That makes that anxiety from not having land makes you nervous. And nervousness and anxiety makes you make poor church choices. It makes you like the fish in the water that starve half to death that sees that worm floating in thin air in the sunshine and say, I'm just gonna bite on it, I'm just gonna nibble on it, and you get caught. We become susceptible to these ideologies of be a fucking ball player or be an entertainer. That's a fucking a worm on a hook. You know, if we had the time and the houses and the land, we could sit back and say, man, you know what? I went to my daddy put me, and I'm gonna set my mouth, I promise, but my daddy worked at a goddamn gas station to put me and my little sister in a very rich white high school just from the apartment he got. And I noticed at this high school in Alabama, one of the dudes, I'll say this: one of them. Well, I'm not gonna say his name, but one of them was a uh, very famous NFL player. There were some talented white athletes at this high school. Very talented ball player. I'm talking about that NBA type white boys. I mean, they was cold, but the majority of them went to law school and became dentists because that was more realistic to them than being in the NBA, and they didn't have that anxiety. We're gonna get a couple more speakers, and we're gonna call it a night. Go ahead, the black.
Yeah, I just want to give an example of how the dominant society play games. During like the tail end of COVID, this dude that was working for the city of Dallas kind of exposed that the city was still doing redlining, and they did like a 3 part special, and they went to one of the elders that was had filed a lawsuit against the city for redlining, excuse me, for the redlining and not giving him a loan, and they backtracked 30 years later. It came back to him, and they were still doing the same thing. And how the ironic thing, they swept it under the table after the special and just gave the dude who exposed it uh, a bank on the outskirts of town where he could give people certain people's in an area loans, but they still limited it to a certain degree. So it's like when you do expose the truth, they'll get, you know what I'm saying, the usual suspect, which is one of us, to either uh be a pawn and show that, yeah, we're being equal now. We just gave this person a bank, and you can get loans from them, and they still have to people still have to go through loopholes and read the fine print on a lot of things because uh, these people use highways for excuses, use certain zip codes for excuses, just not to give us loans or just to stop us from reinvesting in our communities. So it's just funny how you said that, how you met all the parameters, but they still denied you just because of some small like student loans, which more than likely, if you got good credit, that means you're up to date on them. So yeah, it's just funny how they play games like that.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna do one more person, but before we go to our last speaker, I wanted to kind of answer Sam's question. You asked about where it wasn't Sam, it was somebody um said where does this come from? Maybe it was Sir Fun Q. I forgot which one. We kind of got lost in the talk. Where does this European domination come from? According to Dr. Howard Zinn on page 177 of People's History of the United States, a book everybody in this room needs to get it before they ban it. Dr. Zinn says the need for slave control led to an ingenious device, paying poor whites, themselves so troublesome for 200 years of Southern history, to be overseers of black labor and therefore buffers to black hatred. So we start to rise up, is what happened in 1802. We start to rise up with all those goddamn Gabriel Prosser rose up and got snitched on. I forget the other name. Somebody else rose up, got snitched on, and Nat Turner was successful. Nat Turner said, "Okay, well, I'm not going to tell everybody what I'm going to do," and he had a revolution. He cut off. It's the history says he cut off 50 heads. Bullshit. He cut off hundreds of heads. Well, the system then reorganized and said, the way we're going to control these slaves is we're going to pit poor whites against them. And as Dr. Howard Zinn said, the ingenious device was to tell poor whites that you're poor, you're starving, um, you're dying of disease, but at least you're not black. And what kind of messed that up was even though there's no history of no record of Barack Obama doing anything for the foundational Black American community. A matter of fact, I would argue some of his policies were anti FBA, but that's not where I'm going today. The likeness, and even though Barack Obama was not foundational Black American, the likeness of him appearing to be a foundational Black American with a foundational Black American woman at his side destroyed that need for slave control device. and made a lot of poor whites say, "Well, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be there," and they, in essence, felt betrayed, which is why we're in this weird quagmire right now of instability. Some of the old folk call it kindling. It's waiting on a match, really. All right, one more person. Let's hear what Dolo got to say. Go ahead, Dolo.
Dolo isn't up here yet. Go ahead, Dolo. Yeah, wait, he's connecting.
Come on, Dolo. What's on your mind?
Dolo, Mike, come on, come off your mic.
Yeah, my bad. I was just wondering what was the name of that book again?
A people. Oh, the one. Oh, yeah. A People's History of the United States by Dr. Howard Zinn.
That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, Howard was. He's dominant society. He has a very interesting story. He was an Air Force pilot before the Air Force exists. He was in. It was the Air Force used to be the Army. He was in the Army Air Corps. He's a lieutenant, and he was a BN, a bomber navigator in a B-17. And he was doing missions over Germany. He loved being in the Air Force, got out of the Air Force and went to Columbia University in New York on the GI Bill. Was sitting in a lecture one day with one of his professors with a German accent, and Howard bragged on sticking it to the Germans and fucking them up. And Howard bragged on bombing. If those of you history buffs in here know about Dresden, the firebombing, he bragged on just fucking up the Germans and dropping bombs on Dresden. And the professor looked at him and said, "Oh, you killed a lot of Germans, huh?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he says, "I was there. You killed a bunch of kids, is what you killed." And from that moment in class, Howard realized that history can be full of propaganda. And Howard decided to write a book that was telling the truth about American history, which is, and I love America. I don't want another country, but American history is based on the exploitation of blacks and Native Americans to a large extent. Go ahead, Sam.
Yo, you should really look into that loan situation and sue them people for like unlawful loan practices. Because I was thinking about it, man. School loans should be irrelevant to your credit score. Because if let's say I bankrupted tomorrow, the school loans will still carry over. They're not relevant to the credit score. On top of that, you can do $1 a month payment, and it will have no negative effects. So it seems like they were really redlining you at a young age. You might be getting a chance to make money off of that, whatever that property is worth now, I guess.
Yeah, it's a lot more. I'd love to tell y'all about it because I used to work. I worked at a law firm, you know, when I was in law school and after I finished law school. But that I was supposed to be a corporate attorney. That's what I was supposed to be. But I just said, "Fuck." I saw some stuff that I can't talk about. That I Let's just say it's not this country's not fair. But ladies and gentlemen,
Oh, okay, my bad. I had no idea you could do that already.
no,
My
you're
bad.
good, bro. All right, I enjoyed y'all tonight. I learned a lot. I feel like today was a teachable space. What we saw is a lot of anger and aggression coming from members of the dominant society. Remember what Neely Fuller said: the conversation pattern, and prepare yourself for it. Because things are becoming unstable with respect to inflation and the dollar, and when the money becomes unstable, society needs to look for a scapegoat. In Nazi Germany, it was the Jews. Who do you think the scapegoat is going to be in America? I'm not making a prediction. I'm just asking the question. I don't know it. Maybe it won't be us, but Dr. Amos Wilson began to believe that the scapegoat would be foundational Black Americans. And if we are being prepped to be scapegoat, remember those engagement patterns. Trashy, coming at you being trashy. You know, if trashy don't work, then they going to be tacky. And if you reject tacky because you have dignity, be prepared for the terroristic attitudes. I dealt with terroristic attitudes at that gentleman earlier today, but I was prepared for it. I was waiting on it. I'm glad that he stooged himself to teach y'all how it works. Um, with that being said, I'm gonna see y'all later. Wanda, you had any final thoughts?
Good night.
Nikki, you had any final thoughts?
Good night.